The music industry stopped for a minute.
Singer Marvin Gaye was shot to death last Sunday on the eve of his 45th birthday. His father, Marvin Gaye Sr., was booked on suspicion of murder in order to undergo psychiatric tests.
I wish I could be with you there tonight. I want to thank everyone and for your love and support. And remember, when I say goodbye, it's never for long.
The world remembers their music, but few know the heartbreaking stories behind their final days. From shocking deaths like with Sam Cooke, who till now, his murder is still a mystery.
I thought that's where my thinking comes in, is that it was, once again, about money, and the record company went after him. That's my belief.
To the likes of David Ruffin with their very public struggle with drugs and alcohol.
Alcohol and all types of drugs were just a part of the David Ruffin lifestyle.
These legendary black musicians left us far too soon, some under circumstances that still leave fans questioning what really happened. Let's start with Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke was a famous singer with a beautiful voice, but his life ended in a shocking way. He was shot at a motel in Los Angeles.
Sam had received a phone call that brought him to that motel with the girl.
Earlier that night, Sam was at a fancy he had about $5,000 from his recent shows. While there, he met a young woman named Elisa Boyer. They left together and went to a motel. At the motel, Elisa later said Sam tried to force himself on her. She got scared, took his clothes and money, and ran away.
She claimed she didn't know who he was, which is a stone-ass lie. Everybody knew Sam, especially that side of town.
The manager, Bertha Franklin, said Sam grabbed her. She said she had to defend herself, so she shot him. The police believed her story and said it was self-defense. But many people did not believe it. Also, the gun used doesn't match the one registered to the woman who claimed to have shot him.
I thought that's where my thinking comes in, is that it was, once again, about money, and the record company went after him. That's my belief.
An autopsy found a large bump on his head, which Franklin said happened when she beat him with a wooden broom handle after shooting him. But here's the odd part. Her gun still had bullets in it. If she was scared for her life, why would she drop a loaded gun and use a stick instead?
And this prostitute, I think that they got paid off and were in cahoots with somebody.
Sam Cooke's death still remains a mystery. Next is Otis Redding. Otis Redding was one of the greatest soul singers of all time. People called him the King of Soul because of his powerful singing and amazing performances. One night, Otis gave an incredible performance with his band, the Bar-Kays. The crowd loved it, and the energy in the room was electric. But no one knew that this would be their last show together. Tragically, the next day, December 10th, Otis and his band flew to Madison, Wisconsin. The weather was bad, and airport officials advised against flying. But Otis wouldn't cancel. He had never missed a show in his life. Unfortunately, the plane crashed into a lake near Madison, Wisconsin.
So the water, and I saw those coming out the plane. I don't want to get swim.
Otis and most of the Bar-Kays died in the crash.
America lost a legend.
Soul singer Otis Redding and his band, the Bar-Kays, met an untimely death in a tragic plane crash right here in Madison.
Only one member of the band survived. This tragedy not only took Otis's life, but also ended the futures of the surviving band members and left a big gap in the music world. It was a loss that shocked the music community and fans everywhere. Next, Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye was a famous singer. He had a smooth voice and made songs that touched people's hearts. But drugs played a big role in Marvin's decline. In the 1960s, he experimented with coke, but by the 70s, he was deep into addiction.
He fell out with me because I wouldn't loan him some money to buy some drugs.
Oh, that's what it was over?
Yeah.
Okay. What was Marvin on? Was it cocaine or something else?
He also experimented with PCP, a drug known for its intense, mind-altering effects. This lifestyle took a toll on Marvin's mental health, and in 1983, he attempted to end his life twice.
Were you noticing the drug use and kind of his decline and so forth around that time?
I was with Marvin damn near every day, man. Yeah, was I noticing it? Yeah. No, yeah, I was definitely noticing it.
Gaye gave his father a .38 special pistol to protect himself from potential intruders. A verbal argument broke out between Marvin Sr. and Gaye's mother, Alberta, on April 1st. Gaye attempted to mediate but largely defended his mother, returning with the same gun that his son had bought him a few months earlier. Marvin Sr. shot Gaye twice in the chest.
Singer Marvin Gaye was shot to death last Sunday on the eve of his 45th birthday. His father, Marvin Gaye Sr., was booked on suspicion of murder in order to undergo psychiatric tests.
Gaye's brother Frankie tended to his brother. He heard what he alleged to be Marvin's final words. "I got what I wanted. I couldn't do it myself, so I had him do it." Frankie claimed in his book, Marvin Gaye, My Brother. "It's good. I ran my race. There's no more left in me." He put himself out of his misery. Next on the list is Luther Vandross. Luther Vandross's voice was smooth and full of emotion. His music was special, and people still listen to it today. He also went through a heartbreaking accident that changed his life forever. The accident was terrible. All 3 people in Luther's car were hurt. Larry, who was sitting in the front passenger seat, tragically lost his life in the crash. Luther suffered serious injuries, breaking 3 ribs, a hip, and also had cuts and bruises on his face. Authorities charged Luther with vehicular manslaughter because he had been speeding.
I wish I could be with you there tonight. I want to thank everyone and for your love and support. And remember, when I say goodbye, it's never for long.
A life-changing event happened to Vandross. While he was at home, he had a bad stroke. This stroke was so severe that it put him in a coma for almost 2 months. During this time, he couldn't move or speak and had to use a wheelchair. A British magazine claimed that his dramatic weight loss was due to AIDS.
And I said, "Are you sick?" No, I just can't be seen right now. So I went by his home.
Sadly, Vandross died on July 1st, 2005, at the JFK Medical Center in Edison, New Jersey, at the age of 54, due to complications of a stroke. Next up, Tammi Terrell. Tammi Terrell was a talented singer. Terrell was only 19 years old when she signed a contract to work for James Brown.
She had told me that James used to hit her regularly in the head, among other places.
She was also expected to be in a sexual relationship with him, but sadly, Brown was also her. She was being beaten, not just once, but many times so badly that she was bleeding.
He beat her up and she had to end up getting her teeth capped. I remember her telling me, but I didn't want to hear it.
Her next relationship with James David Ruffin was the worst. It became violent too. These fights caused her a lot of stress and may have led to her headaches. In 1967, after a heated argument, he hit Tammi in the head with his motorcycle helmet. Some people even said he once hit her with a hammer, but this was never proven. Even though she left David, Tammi's health kept getting worse. She was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and doctors tried to save her with surgery. By 1970, she was very weak. She needed a wheelchair, lost her hair, and could no longer see. She had 8 surgeries, but nothing worked. After her last operation in January, she went into a coma. She died on March 16, 1970, at just 24 years old. Next is Donnie Hathaway.
Love me tonight.
Donnie struggled with a serious mental illness called paranoid schizophrenia. This illness caused him to see and hear things that were not real. As his illness got worse, Donnie had to go in and out of hospitals.
I went to see him once. He was in one of the private hospitals in the city. Donnie was sitting there at the piano with his cap on and his robe and his pajamas. And he was just playing.
The night Donnie recorded his last song, something went wrong. He was singing well, but suddenly he had a breakdown. He ran out of the studio, screaming, "Too many people are trying to kill me." When asked who, he replied, "White people. They have my brain hooked up to a machine. They're stealing my music and my sound. His words didn't make sense, and it was clear that his mental state had completely broken down.
He was like huddled in a corner crying. And I said, Donnie, I said, brother, what's up? He said, them two men, they're trying to kill me. I said, who? He said, white people. He said, they have my brain hooked up to a machine.
Tragically, Hathaway committed suicide, either fallen or jumped from the 15th floor of the Essex house.
The music industry stopped for a minute.
When the police arrived, they looked closely at the situation. They said Donnie had taken his own life, but some things didn't make sense. There was no suicide note in his room. Everything seemed normal, except the window in his room was wide open on that cold, rainy winter night. Even more puzzling, the safety glass from the window had been neatly placed on the bed. Next, Frankie Lymon. Frankie had a clean, innocent image in public, but the truth was much darker. He struggled with addiction from a young age, and this hurt both his career and his life. Frankie started using drugs at a very young age. By the time he was just 15 years old and entering show business, he had already become addicted to heroin. He even had to lip sync on TV because his live performances weren't good.
He just didn't have the voice. They would have to change the key maybe 5 notes down, and it would sound horrible. So when Frankie did things on TV, he would always lip sync towards the end.
At 19, he went to rehab, hoping to quit drugs, but it didn't work. His record label dropped him, and he spent the next few years trying to get clean but kept falling back into heroin. Frankie roamed the streets of New York, asking old friends for money to buy drugs. He even slept on subway cars, his hollow eyes and messy appearance making him unrecognizable.
He was missing a tooth, his skin was in bad shape, and he was forced to have lip sync. It was sad for most of his fans to witness.
Frankie was arrested for stealing a set of drums and pawning them to pay for drugs. Frankie was really gone. He was found in his grandmother's bathroom holding a syringe. He had overdosed on heroin. Frankie was only 25 years old when he passed away on February 27, 1968. Next up is Bobby Womack. Bobby faced many health problems. In 2013, Womack shared with the world that he had been diagnosed with early signs of Alzheimer's disease, which caused him to forget things, like the songs he had written. Womack also talked about how drugs affected his life. In his memoir, Midnight Mover, he admitted that he started using cocaine in the late 1960s. He became close friends with Sly Stone, and together they took part in heavy drug use.
Cocaine is an upper. I want a downer. So I was scared to mess with that because you do that with a needle.
Womack suffered a head injury during a recording session when he fell backwards over an amplifier. This caused him to lose his vision for a while, which was very scary for him. But it was his cocaine addiction that really changed his life. Womack's life took a dramatic turn when he married Barbara, the widow of his close friend Sam Cooke, just 3 months after Sam's death. This decision caused Bobby many problems, both in his personal life and with his family.
I was so crazy about Sam that the first thing that I said, I'm going to protect his family.
Womack developed diabetes in his later years.
Considered to be one of soul music's greatest artists, Womack's contributions to music won't soon be forgotten.
It was revealed in March 2012 that Womack was diagnosed with colon cancer. Womack died at his home at the age of 70 on June 27, 2014. Next, Jackie Wilson. Jackie Wilson had a wild life full of ups and downs. A frightening event took place when a crazed fan showed up. This fan wasn't just excited, she was holding a gun. Wilson was terrified, thinking she would hurt him or Harris. What happened next was unexpected. Instead of aiming the gun at Wilson, the woman aimed it at herself. In a brave move, Wilson jumped on her to stop her. Unfortunately, in the struggle, 2 shots went off, and both hit Wilson in the stomach.
Good evening. A long line of mourners said goodbye to Detroit's Jackie Wilson today. They gathered in the church where he had started out. Mr. Excitement, who'd earned fame and fortune as he traveled far and wide, came home to be buried.
He lost 1 kidney and had a bullet lodged in his spine for the rest of his life. Jackie, who earned a lot of money, suddenly found himself broke. Jackie's heartache continued. He lost 2 daughters at a young age. The stress took a toll on his heart. While performing in New Jersey, Jackie collapsed on stage after singing. The audience thought it was part of the show, but when he didn't wake up, they panicked and rushed him to the hospital. Sadly, Jackie didn't recover. He fell into a coma and passed away due to pneumonia complications on January 21st, 1984, at the age of 49. He didn't even have enough money for a proper grave. Next on the list is Eddie Kendricks. Eddie was a member of the Temptations, but Eddie felt unhappy with some things behind the scenes. He thought that the people in charge didn't always care about what was best for the band. He also didn't have a good relationship with the leader of the Temptations, Berry Gordy. By 1982, things had changed for Eddie. During a reunion tour with the Temptations, his health was no longer the same. Years of smoking had hurt his voice, and he couldn't sing the high notes as well as before. Still, Eddie kept performing with other former members of the Temptations, like David Ruffin and Dennis Edwards. He continued to perform for many years, but his health problems grew worse. In the 1990s, Eddie's health really declined. He had one of his lungs removed because of smoking. Eddie, who had smoked for over 30 years, used his story to warn young people not to start smoking.
The world first had the opportunity to hear the Temptations and Eddie Kendricks. Another voice from Motown has been sadly.
Eddie Kendricks passed away on October 5, 1992, at just 52 years old, from lung cancer in a hospital in his hometown of Birmingham, Alabama. Next, David Ruffin.
I've got a sweeter song than the birds in the trees.
David Ruffin was a key member of the Temptations. Ruffin started using cocaine in the 1960s, but by the end of the decade, his drug habit became a serious problem. His friend, Linster Butch Merle, remembered how bad things got, saying, "He was getting so high. The man was a walking skeleton." Ruffin's drug use caused him to miss rehearsals and performances, which worried the other members of the Temptations.
And when you are a group, you have to move and think as one unit. You cannot have 5 guys going, 5 different directions.
When Ruffin was first dismissed from the group, he seemed to accept it. Ruffin showed up at the concert, grabbed the microphone, and sang his old song, "Ain't Too Proud to Beg." Ruffin faced another charge when he was found with a stolen handgun worth less than $100. He was fined $50 with an additional $100 in court costs. He was arrested in Detroit for cocaine possession. As punishment, Ruffin was sentenced to probation and community service.
Alcohol and all types of drugs were just a part of the David Ruffin lifestyle.
Ruffin tragically passed away on June 1st, 1991. He was only 50 years old when he died due to an accidental drug overdose. Next, Minnie Riperton. Minnie Riperton was a singer with a special voice. She could sing very high notes, and her song, "Loving You," became a big hit.
Loving you is easy.
People loved her soft and beautiful voice. She had a gift that made her different from other singers. But behind her smile, she was fighting a big battle. Minnie found out she had breast cancer. The doctors told her it was very serious. The cancer had already spread in her body. She had surgery to remove a breast, but the cancer did not go away. The doctors said she had only a short time to live.
My life was interrupted that abruptly. I got cancer. I lost a breast.
Even though she was sick, Minnie did not stop singing. She kept making music and went on tours. She also worked to help people understand cancer. She became a spokesperson to spread awareness.
But I saved the rest of my life, and I've got that because I examined myself early. I found out in time, and I got the help I needed from cancer specialists.
But as time passed, her pain got worse. Minnie passed away when she was only 31.
And Minnie Riperton, the singer and songwriter best known for her 1975 recording of Loving You, died of cancer today in Los Angeles. She was 31.
Her time was short, but her voice still lives on. Many people remember her for her music and her strength. Next, King Curtis. King Curtis was a great saxophone player. He played soul and R&B music. Many people loved his music because it had deep feeling. He worked with big artists like Aretha Franklin. His saxophone sound was powerful and full of life. One night, Curtis had a problem at his home. His air conditioning kept turning off. He needed to check the fuse box to fix it. When he went outside, he saw a man sitting on his steps. The man's name was Juan Montanez. Curtis asked him to move, but the man refused. They started arguing, and then a fight broke out. Suddenly, Montanez stabbed Curtis. Curtis was badly hurt. He was taken to the hospital, but doctors could not save him. He died early the next morning. People were shocked and sad. He was only 37 years old. His killer later went to prison but did not stay there long. Even though Curtis died young, his music still lives on. Next, Curtis Mayfield.
Something better than me. I've been told I can't be nothing else. I'm just a...
Curtis Mayfield was a famous soul singer and songwriter. His music spoke about life in poor neighborhoods. He told real stories about struggles, crime, and hope. Many movies in the 1970s showed drug dealers and criminals as heroes. But Mayfield used his music to show the real problems in these neighborhoods. He wanted people to know the truth. In 1990, a terrible accident changed his life. While he was at an outdoor concert, a big piece of stage equipment fell on him. This left him paralyzed from the neck down. He could not play the guitar anymore, but he never gave up on music. He learned to sing while lying down because it helped him breathe. He recorded songs little by little. His 1996 album, New World Order, was made this way.
And brother, you're the prey.
I've been around some 36 years now, and it looks like we're going to keep going and keep on pushing for possibly another 10 or 15.
Even though he was sick, Mayfield kept making music. In 1994, he won a Grammy for his lifetime work. His health got worse, and he lost his right leg due to diabetes. In 1999, he passed away. His music still inspires people today. Next, Dave Prater. Dave Prater was one half of the famous music duo, Sam and Dave. He had a strong, deep voice that made their songs special. They became very popular in the 1960s, with hits like Soul Man and Hold On, I'm Comin'. Their music was full of energy and made people want to dance. But even with all their success, things were not always good between them. Sam and Dave had many problems. They argued a lot and faced legal issues over their name and songs. These problems stopped them from making new music together. They broke up in 1970, but sometimes got back together when they needed money. Even though they reunited, they never had the same success as before. Prater struggled to find loyal fans, and his personal life was difficult. He went through divorce, money problems, and had issues with violence. One night in 1988, Prater was driving with his girlfriend, Charmaine Marks. He was going to see his mother. While speeding, he lost control of the car, and it flipped many times. Prater was thrown out of the car and hit a tree. He died immediately. Marks was badly hurt but survived. Prater was 50 years old. His death was a shock to the music world. Next, ZZ Hill.
Let Hillsome down home.
ZZ Hill was a talented blues singer with a deep, soulful voice. People loved the way he sang with emotion. His songs spoke about love, pain, and life's struggles. He made blues music popular again in the 1980s. Many fans admired his strong voice and the way he connected with them through his music. Hill faced many challenges in his life. After his brother passed away, he changed record labels and continued making music. He worked with top producers and released some great songs. His career was going well, and he was performing for fans all over the country. In 1984, while traveling for a show, he got into a serious car accident. He kept performing but never fully recovered. Sadly, he passed away from a heart attack caused by a blood clot. His music still lives on, and he is remembered as a true blues legend. Next, Annetta Snell. Annetta Snell started her music journey as a member of a girl group called the Fabulettes. They recorded songs in the 1960s. After some time, she decided to leave the group and go solo. She moved to New York and then to Nashville to follow her dreams. She changed her name to Annetta and recorded a song with Paul Kelly. He introduced her to a music producer named Buddy Killen. She released more songs, and her biggest hit was You Ought to Be Here With Me. It became popular on the R&B charts. She had 2 more songs that also made it to the charts. She later got a chance to record an album with talented musicians. Sadly, while returning home, her plane crashed during a storm. She was only 32 years old. Her life ended too soon. Next, Marcus Price. Marcus Price was a talented guitarist for the Bar-Kays, a popular funk and soul band. He had a passion for music and loved playing for people. His skills on the guitar helped shape the band's sound, making them even more exciting to listen to. Fans enjoyed his performances, and he was a big part of their success. Sadly, his life ended too soon. He was murdered in Memphis, a shocking and tragic event. People who knew him were heartbroken. His friends, family, and bandmates could not believe he was gone. His death was a great loss, not just for those close to him, but also for music lovers everywhere. Even though he is gone, his music still lives on. The Bar-Kays continue to be remembered, and so is Marcus Price. Next, Tyrone Davis.
I just wanna change my mind. Baby, let me change my mind.
Tyrone Davis was a famous singer, known for his smooth and soulful voice. He made many hit songs that people still love today. His music was full of emotion, and fans enjoyed his heartfelt singing. He worked hard to bring good music to the world. As he got older, his health started to get worse. He suffered a serious illness that stopped him from singing. This was very hard for him and his fans. People hoped he would recover, but his condition did not improve. His illness became worse, and he had to stay in the hospital. Even though doctors tried to help him, he could not get better. His passing was a sad moment for the music world. Many people still remember him for his great songs. His voice and music continue to touch hearts, keeping his memory alive. And lastly, we have Bill Stewart. Stewart had health problems because of his weight. One serious problem was diabetes. This might have played a role in his motorcycle accident in 1969. In January 1970, Stewart was in a terrible car accident. He was driving a Ford Thunderbird near Smithfield, North Carolina. His car went off the road, hit a bridge, and fell into the river. Stewart and 3 people with him died instantly. They were all musicians traveling to a show in South Carolina. The car was new, only 12 days old, and had been driven just 1,400 miles. Stewart was buried in Landover, Maryland. His family believed the car had a mechanical problem. His wife, Sarah, sued the Ford Motor Company. Ford won the first trial, but the case was later reopened and settled out of court.